Alright. Good morning, everybody. Which is something I usually don't say. um, so yeah, like I said yesterday, I'm gonna stream during Sean's Thursday window while he's away. Sorry, my phone's going off. So I haven't really been able to, or I wasn't able to really do much more than what you guys saw on stream last night. Did a little bit more, but not a ton. So I'm just going to kind of finish off these two buildings I was working on today. And then probably move into a new area. Not, well, area is bad. It is not the correct word, but like another building. I'll probably move over to trying to define this building a little bit better. Oops. Hey Chaz, how's it going? Snapping, and I was not. Okay. Let's do that. Do a couple of quick windows. I had thought about putting a window there, but I don't think there's enough. Oops. I could use my camera correctly. I don't think there's really enough room to put it here. Hold on. This is a whole... Let's bring this back. Because of the way I modeled that. It, is, a thicker wall than I wanted. Technically, I want it like that, but right there. Just wanted to make sure I wasn't messing anything up on that side. Hey Justin, how's it going? Sitting in a Starbucks? Yeah, I just finished chugging my caffeine for the day. And now doing some level design. or world building, whatever you'd like to call it. Looks like I didn't push this in far enough. There we go. Probably. Yeah, there's definitely those days where it ends up being the first round of caffeine. I'll leave it for now. But I may make that an arch. As opposed to a square foot. Let's go back to these that I roughed in really quick towards the end of stream. So I did the little, the small race apartment. And I've got kind of a larger race one right here. Yeah, let's just expand that. Arches, McDonald's fries would hit the spot right now. I'm not a huge fan of McDonald's fries anyway. I mean, I was when I was a kid. I don't know. I'm not as big into them as I used to be. I think if I had to pick a place to get fries, I would probably... I'm a big fan of Penn Station's fries. I always wished they had a cheese sauce. Kind of like, the old great steak and potato. Restaurant. That's not gonna work the way I want it to. Excuse me. And I hit the same button again. Oh my gosh. Can you tell it's early and I'm not, like, fully functional yet? I won't tell a loving robot you took over his time slot. I have a feeling he may find out, but I appreciate it. Hey, MMO Pug, how's it going? 3x3. Going well? Good. Good to hear. Back here. Space, why not? There we go. That's better. Like, why am I snapping weird? It's because I have it's set to half a meter snap, which is not what I wanted. Alright, so let's add some little windows to this. I think I can fit one in this polygon. Let's see. Yeah, it should be fine. Because the small races ones are only a meter high. And half a meter wide. So now let's try to center this a little bit better. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a half. So there's. That's actually probably centered better because this is a wall, so this will probably look better from the outside. Yep. Right where I wanted it. Oops. Ranger was my first class in EverQuest. I remember reading Ultra Gamer Player Magazine. Nice. Yeah, Ranger was my first as well. When I finally was able to get EverQuest, because I had a job and my parents finally got the DSL, because that's what the stipulation. I wasn't allowed to get EverQuest until we had DSL. It was more or less them just not wanting to pay for it, but when that magical day finally happened and we got DSL or DSL, I ran out and bought it. But I was talking to my friend before that who had been playing for a while, or friends, and wanted a character that was versatile. Like, I wanted to be able to cast magic and be able to heal myself and be able to melee and tank, take damage somewhat and stuff like that. And they're like, Ranger. Yeah, it's like, sweet. And that was how I chose a Ranger. That, and I was a huge fan of Aragon and stuff like that. So, and I like camping and survival and stuff like that. So it was really up my alley to begin with. And then proceeded to throw myself off of the bridges in Kelthon, like, within the first couple minutes. And then proceeded to panic because my friends had told me about corpse runs and that you needed to find your corpse. They neglected to tell me it was, what, level 5, level 10 that started. So I was, like, panicking because I was like, oh no, I'm going to lose my rusty tabard. Or, not my rusty tabard, my tattered tabard? Whatever the thing you get from the turn-in. Not like I couldn't have just re-rolled the character. Oh, and I accidentally closed... Did I close it? Yeah, I guess I closed my UV. Let's move this over here. Yeah, I'm on 3 megabyte DSL even now. That's my internet here in 2023. I remember falling off the bridge in Kelthon, surprised that I was dead. Yeah, the first thing I did was, turned in the newbie note and all that fun stuff, and then was like, is there fall damage in this game? And threw myself off the bridge. And quickly learned, yes, there's fall damage. That makes 3 of us. The good old welcome to Kelthon. I should ask Sean sometime, if I ever remember, if they ever kept a metric on, like, how many Kelthon noobs died within the first, like, 5 or 10 minutes. If they had a metric on that. I'm guessing they probably didn't, but it would be kind of funny if they did. How many first-time created characters that spawned in Kelthon died within the first 10 minutes of falling off of a bridge? New TLP servers. There's always a pile of corpses near the bridge and the lift. Yeah, there definitely is, but they also, even on the TLPs, the fall damage is calculated differently than it was back in the day. I mean, I started in Luglin, I think was when I finally was able to start playing. And the fall damage was definitely a lot more punishing than it is in today's game. I'm debating, depending on what the rule set is, playing a bit of the TLP this time around. I started last time, but I got in like the top guild on Viniki, and man, I couldn't compete, or I couldn't dedicate, not that I couldn't compete, I couldn't dedicate the amount of time that was needed to stay at the bleeding edge of what they were doing, because Jesus, were they progressing fast. But it was kind of fun. Like, I got the first achievement, the kill Kha'Zix at level 40. And then also killed all of Kale at level 40, which was utter ridiculousness. Bunch of level 40s killing Avatar War. I wrote a letter to an instrumental Doom band from Chicago, thanking them for making awesome tunes to grind EverQuest, or grind to for EverQuest. They were so nice. Gave me a bunch of, or gave me a band patch. Oh, that's awesome. I don't think I've ever written to well, I'll take that back. I've written, not to band. In school, though, we had to write to a couple like authors and stuff like that. My God, what's his name? Elie Wiesel. He was a Holocaust survivor. We wrote to him, and he wrote the entire class back, like, with personalized responses to like the entire class, which was fairly impressive. It was like 20 people in the class. But he's the author of Night, I think was the name of the book that we had to read. I started at the launch on Praxis. Oh, you were on Praxis too? Praxis was my server. I've been a little bit here and there playing on live just to kind of see what's up in live. And my character's still got his of Praxis suffix title thing. I played a paladin and later on got a second box with a cleric, later creating a monk, druid, enchanter. Good morning. Hey, H&D, how's it going? But yeah, I was on Praxis as well. I was in Shining Alliance mostly, guild-wise. And actually logged into my brother's character because I was just wanting to run his character as a free-to-play for an extra mercenary heal. And people in my guild were on, which was crazy because a couple times I had been on before, nobody was ever on. And got my ranger back in the guild. June Nobleheart and Ekar was my cleric. I do not recognize either of your characters' names. Paytus was my character's name. Poison Dart Frogs, I do recognize, and Stasis, because Poison Dart Frogs was the farm guild for Stasis, wasn't it? I had a friend, Reiner Rand, I can't remember his full name, but he was a ranger as well. He was in that guild. We were both originally in Rangers of Tunar, which was a like family guild that was pretty much just rangers. And you kind of learn, you know, it's kind of like a place for newbie rangers to go learn and like the basics of being a ranger. It's funny because the guild leader basically, oh my god, what was his name? Negolas? Something like that. Would just sit around like POK in wolf form, like talking to people all day. That was like his thing. Yep. I often got confused with another paladin, Suin. Awesome name. All my EverQuest tunes are Froglocks. All 10 of them. Yeah, I debated going into Stasis for a bit. But because we had been in Rangers of Tunar probably until like early 50s, and then we all kind of broke away, and then we went to, was it Valorous, which was like a small family guild, and I started doing a bunch of pickup raids with what was it called, Barb Raid, the channel that Omi and Rourke had put together for planes backflagging, and I got elemental flagged through that and frequently was like leading the kiting channel and stuff like that. And then what happened? Oh, and then we got it, Valorous got into a alliance with another guild, and I refused to do officers anymore, but I was an officer in the guild, and the alliance, like the head of the alliance, refused to listen to like anything I had to say, and it drove me crazy because the strategies that we used were just not viable strategies for the gear that the guild had. And I was like, yeah, I'm done. And that was when I started hanging out with Shining Alliance. Right when they were doing their EP God flagging. So I think I got into Hexagony with them for, I think it went Hexagony, Kornev, and then Wraith Council. And by the time we were doing Wraith Council, I'd already apped to them. And that was pretty much where I stayed for the rest of my time on Praxis. Although, my friend, my real life friend, had moved Paytas to another guild that he was in, so that he could get him raid loots when he was playing. Like rotting raid loots. So that was why I had to catch somebody on to actually get my character back into the guild. Let's see. Why is this? Oh, because I'm saving. Like, my menu's half covering that. Still just one account. Oops. Ranger died in Blackborough, and someone helped get the corpse back. That's how I first met my only guild, Whispers of the Windsword. Awesome guild, great people. Yeah, after I got into Shining Alliance, that was pretty much it for me. Although SA at the time had like it wasn't like officially a farm guild, but kind of like a farm guild status with like the #2 guild on Praxis, Nameless Order. So I had a bunch of friends that had wanted to go the more serious raiding route and had transitioned, so I had a bunch of like friend and family invites to their raids. As long as I was keyed, I could go and do the bleeding edge stuff. I just got to pick at the scraps that they left on the table, basically. But I did get a couple pieces, if I remember correctly. I think I had some Anguish gear before SA was ever in Anguish. I was never in a big guild until my last year or so. I created Eternal Union. That sounds familiar. Which was fun, but a lot of work. I later disbanded and sought other guilds. I never considered myself a hardcore raider. So I don't think I would have fit in. Hey John, how's it going? Yeah, I was never really a hardcore raider myself. But I did do bleeding edge stuff, like I said, with Nameless Order. But that was part of the reason why I joined SA, was because they were a casual guild, a casual raiding guild that was able to actually get stuff done. And then on the Agnar TLP, I looked for something similar and was in was it Valorous? Not Valorous. Zerdula. And we were a casual guild, but we were like, we finished second on the server for Planes of Power. We were the second to kill Quarm, which I think I've told that story before on stream, but it was us and another guild, and it was like, I think we both had people streaming in the raid, so we were able to like the officers would be like, oh, they're at Ralizek, they're at Bert, like, you know, throughout the thing. So like we'd pull ahead, they'd pull ahead, we'd pull ahead, and then they would wipe, and then like we would almost wipe, and it was kind of funny. And then we got to Quarm, and I can't remember who engaged first, but I think we engaged first, and then they engaged, and we started wiping, and then they started wiping, and then both guilds started Zerg rushing. So every time somebody died, you'd click into time A, run over to time B, grab your corpse, leave something on it, and then just try to deal damage. And it was like a race, a Zerg race to who was going to get the server's second kill. Which was fun. It was definitely a memorable event in my EQ career. And we were the ones that ended up winning by like, I don't know, like a minute or two. That's what I was afraid was going to happen doing that. Because I had to move that slightly. Yes, I'm still watching. I think eventually I'm gonna run some pattern or something across there. It needs something at that height. I suppose I could. No, I couldn't put another level there. Oh, you know what? I have windows here. I might not need to do that. Let's see. I was pretty serious in raiding the first few years of EverQuest, but got burned out helping everyone else do their 1.0s. Big Guild never really took it serious after that, and didn't get my epic for a while. Oh, that stinks. Help everybody else out and then burn yourself out to the point where you didn't get yours. Um, I got mine. Let's say I got my one. I had my 1.0 when I was in Valorous, but I think I had to buy MQs to the Sky piece and the Hate piece. Because Valorous was not in the in that alliance I was talking about at that point, and might have been able to do it, but probably not. That was one thing I really liked about it. Again, about EQ's like progression was, you know, that had to have been in Plains. Plains are actually it was probably Lost Dungeons at that point, and like epics were still relevant, and epics were at Kunark. And I remember around the time that I was leaving Valorous, because I was just like, I'm done. I don't want to be an officer. This is too much work. It's not fun. And I'm tired of smashing my head against this wall. Because the one dude was too stubborn to listen to anybody else who was actually EP flagged. I think he might have been EP flagged, but he like I said, he didn't listen, and it was annoying. But like we had been doing like oh my god, was it Halls of Testing in Temple of Yishan, and like gearing up. Granted, we were also doing grouping in like BOT, because I think that was around the time that they changed the flagging system to allow people in based off of level cap, or like where you were level wise. But you know, we were doing raids in Kunark, we were doing raids in Valius, for gear that was you know, close to the equivalent of stuff that you would get from a group encounter. So it was still relevant, and it taught you, you know, the raid mechanics essentially. And nowadays games, you know, second the new expansion comes out, the old raid content is completely you know, out the window. No one cares about it anymore. No matter how good it or how well it was designed, it just falls to the wayside. Because the path of least resistance becomes, let's just get group gear from the next expansion because it's completely better than the raid gear. So that was one of the things I always loved about EQ. Unfortunately, I think EQ is even kind of that way now, where like the raid gear is about what the first tier group gear ends up being for the new expansions nowadays. Oh, so I'm way behind. I'm just sitting here like ranting and not looking at chat. I apologize, guys. Some other guilds I remember were Nameless Order. Yep. Yeah, Nameless Order is the one that I ran around with. Unity. My friend who was a shaman in Valorous went on to Unity, and I had like friendly rivalries with the shaman and with the ranger I mentioned from Stasis, Reiner, Randarin. I can't remember what his full name was. I always called it Reiner. And then the shaman was Furry Curry. And we always had this like friendly rival. Although Furry being in Unity was always like decked out in crazy stuff. Although I did make Furry Curry quite jealous when I won the Ring War of, or not the Ring War, the War event where was it the FV ring or the FV War? I think it was before an expansion where like there were groups of there was like armies that appeared in like Kelthin and Butcher Block and Grob, was it? Or Inethil Swamp. And they dropped some really, really nice gear, like timed attack V quality gear. I ended up getting the breastplate, and it was better than the attack V breastplate at the time. So I did get that. Harmony of Souls. Wow, that is a name I haven't heard in forever. I completely forgot about that guild. Twilight Avengers. I have access to a friend's old account who was in Twilight Avengers, and he's like one of 10 people still in that guild. So it still exists. I was literally on the druid that's in there probably 2 weeks ago, and I was like, oh, Twilight Avengers still exists. Fallen Alliance, that's another one. Keepers of the Faith. Yeah, they were the #1 on the server forever. It was Keepers of the Faith, the Nameless Order, and then Keepers folded, and then it was Nameless was the #1, and Unity was #2, and then when they merged in the the first merger of the server, when they merged Terrace Thule into Praxis, Clan Taveran, I think was #1, or them and Nameless Order kind of like were fighting for the #1 position. But none of those guilds are around anymore, sadly. I think I gave the last enchanter piece 3 or 4 times before bothering to get mine. Always put guild members first. When Rogue Epic came out, it was solved in like 3 days because you could buy everything. Yeah, I remember doing the Rogue Epic for my friend. It was around the time my friend was quitting, the one who was the druid that I was just talking about. And we did his, and it was super, super easy to do. You guys thinking of dungeons have secret passages? I think Mistmore was noted for that. Yeah, we already have secret passages in some of our, in Wormsbane even. There's definitely going to be secret passages and stuff. We'll probably lean more into that in future dungeons, where there might be like ways that are blocked unless you find a secret passage and go through it and open it up, that type of thing. EQ didn't have power creep, it had power leaps. Yes, it did. The stats are absolutely silly at this point if you hop on live. Like I said, I've been playing on live, and my ranger headshots, if I use pure shot, which is like the upgraded true shot discipline, and I headshot something, I think the highest I've seen is like 3.6 million damage or something stupid like that. And buffed, I think my ranger right now is like closing in on 2,300 200, or no, 230,000 HP. And buffed, but not like using all my ranger disciplines and stuff. I think my attack can get up to like 6k. Oh no, that's with the buffs. Without the buffs, it's like 5k, something like that. And the ratios are all like super silly, and I think the raid gear now has like 12k, 14k health on it or something like that. It's funny because it's like my guild let me loot a one-hand slash, I think it was. It was a weapon. It was a one. I think it's one-hand slash, although the image looks like a one-hand blunt. And it had like about as much HP as my ranger had when I was running through Plane of Time. Like initially running through Plane of Time, it's like 10. It's over 10k health. It's like one piece of gear is my entire Planes of Power rating ranger's stats. I hope you enjoy warmer weather today. I'm in your neighborhood, New Hampshire. It's a little bit chillier today here, but I'm not in New Hampshire. I'm in Ohio. Maine is by far the nicest, quietest state I've lived in. People keep to themselves. Here, it's great. I can tell less games more. Or hold on, did I read that right? Oh, I can talk less and game more. There we go. Talk less. Okay. I saw someone's post where they reached 100 million or 1 million HP. Yeah, I saw that too. I think I even shared it in the in our Slack. But yeah, you can get up to some silly numbers. When I first started playing, or it was around the time I decided to kind of actually start playing, I soloed all of Citadel of Anguish with like, because I didn't have an account active at the time. I was basically naked. I think I had like 2 pieces of armor that were actually giving me stats, and I basically punched the Overlord to death because I was using weapons, but I was using punching damage, which is ridiculous because that encounter, if SA ever beat the encounter, they beat it after I stopped playing, because that encounter kicked our ass multiple times. That was a hard event back in the day. Nowadays, I guess it's not nearly as bad. Like TLPs, I guess, routinely drop him, but Gina definitely helps with that encounter. Damn mass clicks. Maybe one of these days I'll stream some live EQ. But just so anybody who hasn't played in years can see the power leap that has happened. EQ really needs a number crunch. Oh yeah, you staying safe with the chemical spill thing, crazy stuff. Oh, yeah. Honestly, so it's bad. It's a I'm not gonna deny that, but I think some of it is overblown because like you'll see all those maps and it's like 100 mile radius, all animals are dropping dead, and you know, basically it sounds like, you know, 5 Chernobyls just happened. I'm within a 100-mile radius, and I work even closer, and I haven't seen a single like dead animal drop out of the sky. There's up until yesterday, it was clear skies for like the last couple days, and I've got like birds moving into the vent for my bathroom. So I mean, it's bad, but I think it's one of those. It's worse in like East Palestine, which is maybe an hour from here. But some of the stuff that you'll see online, where it's like, you know, everything within 100 miles is basically Pripyat, is a little overblown. But with that said, you know, it's definitely a bad situation. And I feel really bad for all the people that, you know, actually live close to it and, you know, have their lives like really affected by it. But here on the west side of Cleveland, I have not had any like side effects from it. Part of that though is because the prevailing winds in this area come off the lake and from like the northwest and head east or southeast. The majority of the time, usually if anything's blowing from the south to the east, it's usually because there's like a tropical storm or something coming in. So most of the chemicals and stuff got blown into Pennsylvania. I think Pennsylvania is gonna get the brunt of a lot of those toxins and stuff. Obviously, you know, the eastern part of the state will as well, but those giant, again, those maps where you see where it's like this giant radius, a lot of that is going to go east. It's not going to sit on the west, would be my guess, just based off the winds. And it's been it's been fairly windy the last couple days too. Yeah, EQ doesn't need a number crunch. I think I started reading that. I don't know if I read that out loud or not. I wonder though, with EQ, if they did a number crunch, like how would the player base react? Like, you've gotten so used to watching, you know, millions of your DPS, you know, your burn DPS being X million or whatever it ends up being. I haven't parsed my ranger, and my ranger by far is not the best geared, even though his gear is disgusting by old standards. Like going from hitting, you know, a couple million back down to hitting for a couple hundred or a couple thousand, I'm sure it would turn some people off because it'd feel like a downgrade. Yeah, I know, you're in Ohio, Paytas. I was talking to Justin in Maine. Oh, I saw it. He mentioned a few times in Sean's stream. Agree to lost experience. Shit. Well, that's good. They're definitely making it look like a giant catastrophe. Not to downplay it, but yeah. Yeah, again, I think it's bad. It's not a good thing, but some of the stuff, like I opened Twitter to look up some, or just to kind of look around, which I don't go on Twitter all that often. But a member of the team had reached out and was like, "Are you okay in Ohio?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." I'm like, "It you know, that's bad." But I hadn't been on Twitter in a couple days at that point. I'm like, "It's bad." But I'm far enough away that, you know, that we're not seeing anything. And then I went on Twitter, and I would have thought that it would have been like the apocalypse outside based off of how everything was described within the radius that I lived. And I'm like, that's not how it is. It probably is bad in when you're closer to it, but they make it sound like it's this giant area that's affected. Now, is it bad that it's probably gonna, you know, that the rivers down there are going to be contaminated, and, you know, that could get into the Ohio River, and that, yes. That probably won't affect where I'm at, because we get all of our water from the lake, and all of the rivers and tributaries down there drain down into the Ohio River and not up into the lake. So it doesn't affect, that doesn't affect me as well. Or shouldn't affect me as much. But we shall see. And, you know, keeping my fingers crossed that nothing worse happens, but that, and I mean, this area itself is not exactly not been polluted in the past. Our river here used to catch fire back in like the 60s and 70s. So it's not like it's the first time we've had to deal with some pretty nasty water contaminants. So in the end, I think it won't be as apocalyptic as people say, but again, I'm not a scientist, so obviously take anything I'm saying right now with a grain of salt. But I can tell you, I can look out the window right now, and there's not a giant ash cloud of death floating above my house, so. And I'm sure part of that is, you know, people have agendas, people have, people are trying to get you to click on articles and all that fun stuff that makes the world go round these days, unfortunately. If EQ had a number crunch, people would riot. For some reason, Smed would get harassed. FOH would stage a sit-in, server crashes to get their way again. You're probably not too far off with that. Yeah, I honestly, I don't see a stat crunch at this point being healthy way to go, because again, you turn some people off who are just so used to it. Even like if you like, let's say, you know, you stat crunch people back to like Planes of Power era, if that was even possible. But you made players relatively actually stronger in the process. People would still riot, I'm sure. Like, how dare you make my character weaker? But you actually boosted their stats in the process, and you know they're hitting harder than they should, or they would be if you just stat crunched it back to that point. I have a sneaking suspicion that's exactly how it would play out. Big numbers good. Yeah, exactly. It kind of goes back to like when I used to play Lord of the Rings Online. The champion class is like a melee AoE class that could dual wield and could use two-handers, but they were a dual wielding class. Like that's what they were designed to be, and so many people would use two-handers because the crits were big and flashy, and they were like, oh, this is great. But dual wielding was more DPS, but it was just because the crits looked so great when you critted with the two-hander. There were so many people that thought it was better. It always baffled me. I'm like, and it was a mature demographic. It wasn't like, it was, you know, mostly people that were, you know, I was probably mid-20s at the time, and I was one of, like, me, my ex, and my brother were like some of the younger people that we would hang out with in that game. Most of the people were like 30, 40, 50. But I was like, why are you using a two-hander? You're doing less damage. I needed to download the emulator for that. My brother told me about it not too long ago, and I think he downloaded it, but it's only up to like level 20, I think he said, something like that. But man, when that game came out, it was out of the WoW clone era of, I mean, I guess we're still slightly in the WoW clone era. But the obvious WoW clone era. When it first started. It was one of the better MMOs in that kind of style. And it would be kind of cool to run around in the classic era of that game. Which is the first expansion, essentially. Shadows of Agmar. For anybody who's not familiar with the game. I was actually running around in that one too, because I had a ton of the whatchamacallits saved up. The like shop cash that they eventually added. So I bought like a bunch of the quest packs and was slowly grinding through it. But then I got the itch to play around on live, so I haven't been on it in a while. That's one of the many reasons I hate meters in games. Players throw smart gameplay out the window to put them or stop them. Yeah. I don't remember. I don't think there was any meters in the game. I think that might have been part of the problem. People just saw big flashy numbers and just assumed that they were doing the right thing. But there was a lot of kind of weird gear issues. That's what that game's biggest issue was, in my opinion, was the itemization was not great. I remember my captain, so like the new raid would come out and I would look at the gear and then I'd be like, cool, I want like 2 things out of this entire expansion. Or not expansion, but like this entire raid that they just dropped. Because I could get more power and more morale. So power was mana, morale was HP. I could get more of it by like piecing together random pieces of gear than just throwing like the new raid set on. So I'd run around with barely any gear out of the new raid. And this was after the first raid's gear wasn't great. I never really did that raid, and then they released, which apparently this emulated server is supposed to go to, which is called, or it's kind of like where it cuts off, which is the Rift raid. That gear was good, at least for captains. So I was full in that. But after that, like the raid gear wasn't all that great, minus a couple sets here and there. But I'd run around and I'd have more power and morale than the people that were just throwing on whatever the newest set was because they thought it was the best. And I was like, are you guys like actually looking at what the stats are? Or what the whatchamacallits do? The set bonuses? But what do I know? I mean, it's a game. Play it the way you want. But I was always super, super confused. How much gear, or how much of that new gear wearing was fashionable over function, though? Honestly, I don't think it really mattered because there was a dressing room type thing. Like, you could throw on whatever gear you wanted. So, like, visually, you could just, you know, wear whatever you wanted. Cosmetics, that's the word I was looking for. So, yeah, you could just, you know, wear whatever cosmetic you wanted. My character in that game is still wearing the Rift cosmetic from the... was it North Star Captain or whatever this set was called? I can't remember. But he's most definitely not wearing that armor, actually. It's just a cosmetic. Yeah, I think I'm going to do... Oops. If I can actually get it to select the whole edge loop. Okay. I will be right back, guys, because the caffeine definitely is flowing through me. So I will be right back. I'm going to go run to the restroom. And then we'll continue building this out. And I'm back. Oh, and Nicodemus, thank you for 7 months. Appreciate it. That was very kind of you. How are you doing? I'm doing pretty well. Nice to catch you on one of your streams. Yeah, it's definitely it's a different time, so it might be easier for people to catch. But with Sean out, gives me a chance to have a calmer Monday, since I work all day on Mondays this semester. Although I was originally going to do a longer stream today. I was going to do like a 9 to 12 3-hour stream, but I'm going to have to get out of here by 11. Because I had a last minute meeting that popped up today. Or not today, but it popped up a couple days ago. But for today. No problem. Just watching from home this morning. I was going to put some music on in the back for background noise, and then noticed you're on. What are you working on this morning? So, I have been working on slowly building out this area heading this way. And last week on the stream, I was kind of playing around with this, wasn't feeling it. I like it going up to here, but I kind of just wanted to work from this way down. Like, the inspiration was pulling me more in this direction, going this way, instead of this direction, going this way. So that was the plan, kind of shifted. Still kind of working on this whole path, which was what my focus was. I'm just switching from one end to the other, because I'm just creatively feeling that direction more. So I've been kind of building out these spaces and these buildings, kind of getting the flow down, kind of tying in this back area, and then after I finish up this block, I'll probably move over to this block, and then we'll figure out what this courtyard space is, and then how it progresses into this area. So that's kind of what I've been doing. Imagine I'll probably be focusing on, you know, this space for next couple weeks, next week or so. Maybe 2, 3. We'll see. The question is, am I going to have the right number of subdivisions? Let me... Nope. There we go. Now I just need to adjust these. Wizards, do they like to live high in society than the rest of the citizens? Citizenry. Oh my god, I can't speak. Stairway road up to the tower makes sense. Actually, yeah. So this is eventually going to have some stairs. I think right here is going to have stairs because it gets a little steeper there. And I might have some kind of shallower steps up here eventually, similar to what I did over here. Although I had to do more actual just stairs, just because it was such a steep incline. Actually, I probably should put some stairs over here too. So yeah, this will eventually have some stairs intermixed with some hills. And then, yeah, the wizards are up in the tower. So technically, yeah, they're the highest elevation out of all of the other classes, because everybody else is lower. The only other one close is the Inquisitor and Spellblade. Let me select the edge loop. There we go. Let's see. Looking forward to play this. A wizard with nukes. Our wizards also have the ability to wield swords. Oh, I guess I'm not going to have those extend. Oh, sorry, Gola. I totally missed, or Gola. Oh my god. I missed your message there. Good morning. So which class is going to be meta? That would be a question from Nick, since Nick is the one actively working on the class designs. Because if you ask me, the obvious answer is going to be Ranger. So I'm going to move this up a little bit. Just going to make me have to cut this stair, or cut a path for the stairs, I think. Oh my god. Why are you doing that? Oh, I hit... I, hit Control S instead of Control D. So it was saving. I'm like, why are you trying to go back in the history? But it was trying to save. Oops, I missed that. The reason I'm doing this is... I'm going to put a little... small race dwelling space down there. Or I suppose I could have... I'm going to raise this roof. And we'll do windows higher up on that wall. But this will be a little doorway right here. Should probably just run this along it. Oh. Never mind. I don't have a triangle there. Let's just do it this way then, since I made a triangle. And it was... like that. And then these need to... where's the middle? Right there. Right, so that's the metal. One, two, 3. Obviously, Channer should be most powerful. I think Zukin would agree with you, John. Did you say Druid is going to be OP? Since he likes them. Are Druids and Wizards the only porting classes, or is it too early to know? For like actual like teleports and ports, I think those are the only ones planned to have them. You know, casters and stuff, I'm sure we're gonna have like gate and things like that. But in terms of a class that is going to have the ability to port, you know, groups around to various locations, I believe those are the only two. Do you have a poly count for Night Harbor yet? Just curious how many it takes to build a city. I forget how to where is the stats? I forget where they put the stat window. Because they did it when we updated, everything changed, and I haven't had the need for stats. Oh my god, where's the stat window? I'll find it. Honestly, I don't know. We need to optimize the geo as it is. I've been trying to keep mine somewhat optimized as I've been going through. It's still not perfect though. I've got like weird edge loops that are just not necessary. So my stuff is probably 80% optimized. Simon was mentioning that he has some stuff that's like that he will, when we bring it into Blender, he has to kind of clean up. So some of the stuff in the docks is much higher subdivisions than it will eventually have. Looks like the interior stuff is fairly optimized. And, you know, stuff like this, you can take stuff to the corners to optimize it better. But even with that, it's been running, and the fact that we're still running it is Pro Builder meshes, it's the client runs fairly smooth. So once all that optimization gets done, I would imagine it's gonna run even smoother. Let's see. But I do not have an actual count of what it is. I'll look up online where the stuff is. Just remind me during my next stream, and I can fly out and we can see how many polygons are currently in the zone. Although it may factor in the water. I may have to turn off the water because the water has is a tessellated mesh. That. If I can turn on wireframe real quick for you guys. Hold on. Why am I completely... Why am I forgetting how to turn on wireframe in Unity? I literally just did it the other day. Wow, my mind is completely like... There we go. You can see how the water scales. So like as you get closer, it gets more tessellation. So that the waves can do their thing. And as you get further back, you can see it drops off. So it's optimized, but it's made out of polygons and stuff. And you can see at a certain, when it reaches a certain level, it just doesn't animate either. Or it does. Oh, I guess it does. I lied. It is. It's just very, very, very subtle. Like up here, you guys might not even be able to see it on the stream, depending on how the resolution is. I'm amazed at how fluent you are in Pro Builder. Do you have a resource you can recommend on learning the ins and outs? I've spent so much time trying to figure it out. Is it possible to add new vertices? So the resources that I used, because I'd never actually used Pro Builder before I started on this project, was pretty much the basic. I watched a video or two that had like the basic hotkeys. So it's like Alt B to bridge a gap. Alt E will connect vertices together. So like if you want to triangulate some, oh my god, hiccups. If I want to like draw an edge between two vertices, and then Alt U, if you're selected on a face or a edge, it'll subdivide it, and insert an edge loop. Beyond that, it was a lot of just trial and error. I've been modeling for like almost 20 years now. I think like 17 years, if I'm going to be technical. So a lot of it carries over from learning other modeling applications, and then just kind of figuring out the tricks and the kinks. And I mean, there's a lot of quirks and stuff like that with Pro Builder. And I mean, modeling itself is kind of, a lot of it is just tricking whatever application you're doing into doing something right when it doesn't want to do it right. Because all 3D applications, you'll always run into like weird things where tools will just, like, you get to an edge case and the tool just breaks on you, and then you just are like, okay, well, this method's not going to work. What's the next method? So that was kind of like the process that I kind of went through with Pro Builder, was just putting in the reps and figuring out how I wanted to do things more efficiently. Because like if I was doing this in Maya, I would just grab this, delete it, grab my cut tool, my multi-cut tool now, and then grab this and draw to that corner. But I can't do that in this. So like this is super unoptimized right now. So whoop, that was not what I wanted to do. So I could, you know, collapse these, which is Control C or Alt C, and run those to there. So, and again, I would just, normally I would just be like, and delete. Well, not delete, because I'd be deleting vertices I don't want, but I would just select this, select this, select this, and then in Maya I'd hold down Control and I hit delete, and it would delete the edge and the vertices at the same time. But you don't get that option. So there's some things that are definitely left to be desired, so you just have to like learn the limitations of what Pro Builder can do and make do with them, I guess, is the best way I can put that. So this isn't completely optimized, but it is now more optimized on this. Like this surface is more optimized. These are not. I'm gonna move that down there though. So yeah, there's little weird things like that you got to deal with. But yeah, it's just one of those. Just kind of keep doing the reps, and you learn a little bit more here and there. And then I just sit down and continue to hope that they will eventually add the ability to delete edge loops, because it would make my life so much easier. But unfortunately, no, I don't have any like specific thing. I just went on, I think, YouTube, and looked around to see if there was, or looked for a tutorial and hoped it was gonna give me enough. And then once I had the basic tools that I normally use, kind of figured out, that's kind of when I stopped digging. And then I've learned some other stuff over time. There's some more advanced, like, and experimental things. There's like splines and stuff like that. I haven't used them much just because they're experimental, and I don't want to like blow up the project in the process of using them. So I just haven't used them. What kind of PC are you working on? Strong Machine, Glass Flats. It's a custom build, so how old is this machine? This machine will be like 2 years old this May or June. May or June. And my older machine was probably like 7 years old and was dying. Like the graphics card was really, really slow. When I would be streaming my classes during the COVID lockdowns, it started getting to the point where in Maya, not Maya, sorry, in excuse me, in Unreal's version of this, essentially, like, if I were to do this, and, like, connect a new, node, it would sit here and compile for, like, a minute. So, it was so annoying teaching a texturing class where you have to teach how to, like, use a node editor, and every node you connect, it would just sit there and compile, so you wouldn't get like an update of like what it was doing. Normally it takes a couple seconds sometimes to update. But I was like, oh my god, there were points where I was literally about to just chuck my computer out the window during lectures. It was so infuriating. So due to the whatchamacallit, the GPU shortage, it was cheaper for me to just, or it wasn't cheaper, it was like an extra $100 or so for me to just buy a brand new computer. So I didn't go to like Micro Center or anything like I normally would. I just kind of found an online distributor that would build it for me. And it's, I think, iBuyPower. Is this supposed? Yeah, my old one was a different company, but iBuyPower. And then I've got a 3090 in it. I've got 32 gigs of RAM. I forget what my motherboard is. I've got a couple hard drives, a bunch of I can eventually put the specs on my my profile like all the other super cool Twitch streamers do. But yeah, so it's 32 gig i7 I forget which generation. Whatever generation was the current generation 2 years ago. 11th generation? 12th generation? Something like that. i7 with 32 gigs of RAM. And 3090. So it's a... You know, it'll last me a while. And it's water cooled and all that. Not custom water cooled, but water cooled. Yeah, Glass Flat's music is awesome. It's such a nice, like, chill song. Okay, so we got this one. I also want to do another small... I want to do another small race house like this. There's a lot of small race representation in this one little spot. It's the gnomish quarters. So, back to the Pro Builder thing. Again, because I can't delete edge loops, I just kind of... I do a lot of this where I'm deleting faces and then bridging gaps because it lets me... oops. It lets me make the triangles easier. Technically, I could, if I really wanted to get efficient with this, I could just do that. But that technique lets me kind of make more optimized geometry without having to worry about going back into Maya later and really doing a ton of cleanup. There's still some cleanup that'll need to be done because it is so much faster just to do it in Maya. But I don't know if I'm going to have enough room to do what I wanted to do. I may have to take a little bit away from that spot. Did you ever solve that one-way bridge in that dungeon? Bridge in the dungeon. Are you talking about where the light was flickering weird? Oh, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the entrance idea. No, we opted not to do it. I really like the idea. We opted not to do it in Wormsbane since it's such an early dungeon. It felt, and that was my hesitation with it too. But when we were talking about it as a team, The idea was really cool and it seemed pretty memorable, but it felt like too big of a barrier to entry for a low level dungeon. Yeah, felt a little too mean. We might do something similar at a higher level, but for like the beginning dungeon, it just felt a little too harsh. And I'm all about like having harsh environments. I think they're cool. I think they're memorable, but that that idea just, I don't know, it was just too much for what we wanted. So probably won't go that route. But I guess I'm just gonna make this a but yeah, it's one of those ideas that we're at least putting on the back burner, and potentially a higher level dungeon could end up with a similar idea in the future. Because I do think it could be a fun mechanic, a memorable mechanic, but one of those like rage quit early on moments. And I mean, our combat's already fairly difficult and stuff like that, so yeah, it just definitely seemed a little excessive. Where is the parkour course going to be? I guess over here there might be a little bit of parkouring that you can eventually do. You're gonna have stuff that like runs from rooftops. There's gonna be some more buildings built back into here, so you can kind of like run along and jump along, that type of thing. Oops. I forgot to grab those. Oh, no. No, I didn't. It's because it's the little slope. Kind of threw me off there for a second. Pretty good. Things are looking so good. It's come a long way over just the last few months. I keep looking for that newsletter to come in asking us to hop in and give it a try. Well, we're hoping to do a larger like community test weekend or week or something like that by the end of quarter 1. So that's the goal. You know, if we end up having to push it back, we push it back a little bit. But we do want to get you guys in. We want to be able to have more people in running around. Obviously, you know, we're still super early. The city's not even finished being built. We only have a couple zones that are... I mean, we have a bunch of zones that are, like, really roughly blocked out. But we... excuse me. You know, the city itself still has a lot to be built and refined and all of that. But we want to stress test the systems more. So see how the tech holds up. And the earlier we get that information, the earlier we can make the improvements. And, you know, you guys can hop in and give it a go and give feedback and stuff like that as well. Although I think we're, at least for the first time we do a larger community one, I think we're more, again, worried about, like, game-breaking stuff in terms of, like, lag and things like that. But there'll be more information when we get there on what exactly, like, we're looking for in terms of feedback. But definitely something that is on our mind, and is kind of like the driving force behind what we're doing right now, is trying to get everybody some access. I mean, just the smaller friends and family stuff has been like, you know, it's been really nice to be able to kind of watch people play in ways that we generally don't get to as a team, either because we know what stuff is or where stuff is. Although at this point, I think there are, actually, I guarantee there are people in our testing group that know stuff better than I do, because they get to play a lot more, and my free time I mostly spend working on this. Like I said, I've been playing a little bit in EQ as well, just kind of playing around. But there's definitely some people that have put in some serious time. What's your favorite piece you've created so far in Night Harbor itself? Ooh, I don't know. Maybe the Wizard Tower? I think that came out better than I anticipated it was going to. The Arch came out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the inn. I kind of wanted that, oh my god, what is it called? Not a caravan, Carabar? It's a type of inn, like Middle Eastern inn. And it hit that pretty well. I really like how that came out. I think those are probably my favorites. The Hanging Gardens are still a work in progress, but I like how they're progressing. There's gonna be more waterworks and stuff like that, but for a level design, like basic flow, it's good. Obviously, it doesn't look like a garden right now. There's no greenery. There's no waterworks really going on in it right now either. So yeah, there's definitely sections of the city that I'm really, really liking. It'll be fun when I get up to here and really get to kind of play around with the palace. Probably gonna go with a little bit of a kind of like a Hagia Sophia influence. It already kind of has that, but make it a little bit more grandiose. Make it, you know, a little bit more tiered. And then I kind of think I want to do some like towers kind of coming off of it too, to just kind of really push that silhouette so that, like, you know, that far off city view looks pretty sweet. Any of it you look at and say to yourself, I need to rethink that place? I was really saying that over here. This place just needs to be revisited and like touched up. Same over here. These just need to be finished and touched up. This area is probably that area for me right now. I'm not 100% loving it. This area needs to just be actually addressed. Same thing with Salt Breeze. Salt Breeze just needs some roads and maybe a couple more POIs. Like, I want to do like a fountain type thing right here. So yeah, the big one right now is this, but I want to approach it from this angle, and just kind of feel this area out first and then progress into here. Because again, I don't know if this is going to be a real big gameplay space. It may just be more of a housing space, and we may end up closing up these alcoves. Let's see if Simon closed these ones yet. Nope, he hasn't. But we've been talking about closing these off just because they might add, like, you know, 20 to 40 other buildings, but we've already have so many buildings at this point. It's one of those, like, do we need it to be that big? Because it's already ridiculously big. So closing those off it will cut down on the amount of time it takes to develop everything, but it's almost feeling like unnecessary. And if you guys watched the old stream where I actually put those in, I was afraid that there just wasn't going to be enough space up here to have buildings and stuff like that. But you can already clearly see that, kind of like the average size buildings that I've been using, already there's a ton of them in here. So I feel like that was a underestimate of how many building structures we were going to be able to get within the space that we had. Passing Gardens and Salt Breeze. Yeah, so probably some paths, you know, kind of winding there, winding to there, and then maybe, you know, maybe it'll be more of a central one, and then I'll have a path kind of wandering off to the individual spots. There's also in the lore supposed to be a little like cemetery thing over here, like a pet cemetery. So that'll be a super easy thing to add. It'll just be probably a couple of little gravestones with former pets of team members, names on it would be that's kind of what my initial thought would be. So it won't be a big thing, but it'll be there. But that's really it for Salt Breeze. But the water here will eventually look better. I need to really just kind of dive in on how this shader works and see if I can just apply it to that. And then I want to have little like waterfalls that kind of walk, and then have little paths of water that are shallow that kind of run along walls or things like that. And then the interior will have some murals and some, you know, tapestries, and then little like overhanging planters, and then again water dripping down, and potentially like pools of water that are again real shallow, but adding more green space and, you know, water effects down here, and then also up here. And then we're going to have a an aqueduct that's going to be like kind of running up in the mountain area, down through here, and then we'll probably hit some kind of cistern type. Actually, the cistern will probably be here, and then it'll bridge over to the third tier. And then the third tier is going to have a lot of greenery and water as well. And then it'll have something that kind of drains down into both of these. So that's kind of the plan. That'll eventually, you know, be there when it's more aesthetic based than like just trying to lay out the city, because the city is just so big. Because, like, again, I've said this multiple times on stream, like, this area right here has more buildings than, like, all of Freeport. All of the original Freeport. Just to kind of give it a contextual, maybe not size, it's crammed into a smaller, you know, tight, kind of winding market area. But just that alone already has more structures to go in. A few gravestones now means later these will be a pyramid dedicated to the ruler's prize bets. You know how it goes. Cistern maybe should be near the elementalist's tower. Rain summon water over the tower. That water falls into the aqueduct. The water actually is running from a different zone. So one of the higher, or one of the like outdoor dungeon zones, I believe, is what it's supposed to be hooked up to. Unless stuff has changed since I last looked. But yeah, so another zone over there essentially would be where the water comes from, and then you would see it through Sungreet Strand, and then it would kind of run, you know, through the mountain areas, and then enter the third tier, and then maybe like along the walls of the third tier would kind of channel water, something like that. And then, you know, the tiers will be kind of stepped, so there'll be some like rocky outcroppings that these buildings are built on, and then there'll be water and greenery and probably paths and stuff. It'll be more fancy up here. Oh boy, I just realized what time it was. I have to get going. I have to get going because I need to get ready to get to my meeting. Thank you everybody for hanging out with me today. Apologies. I'll try next Thursday to do a 3-hour stream. Unless some... Hold on. Yeah, I don't have anything on the calendar right now for next Thursday. So, we'll try to have a longer stream next Thursday. But thank you everybody for hanging out with me today. If you aren't familiar with the project, that is our website. Monsters and Memories is the name of the game. It is an indie MMORPG that is very influenced by the classic first generation of MMOs. So think late 90s, early 2000s, EverQuest, Ultima Online, Asheron's Call, RuneScape, that era of MMOs. That is our Discord. If you have any questions, feel free to hop in, ask. You know, where all the developers are in there. We're usually pretty good at answering questions. We also have just a bunch of conversations and stuff going on about the game and other games in the genre and tabletops and all sorts of fun stuff. So if you just want to hop in and be a member of the community, you know, we always love having new people. That is our mailing list if you'd like to stay up to date with the game development but don't want to join Discord, or, you know, aren't necessarily on Discord very often. These are the other members of the team that stream. My streams are generally level design and environment art based, but everybody kind of does their individual section or sections of the game development. We have a YouTube channel as well if you'd like to get caught up on past VODs. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm fighting off a sneeze. Ugh. Anyways, so I'll be uploading the rest of my videos. I think I've got like 2 or 3 that I got to upload now. This week. But yeah, if you're on YouTube, please remember to like and subscribe, comment below, click the bell, all that fun stuff. That helps us out with the algorithm. The more engagement we get on those, the more likely the algorithm is to suggest M&M content to people that, you know, like MMOs and indie MMOs, classic MMOs, that type of thing. So, yes, pollen season is definitely upon us. It's definitely getting to that time. Yeah, so please remember to do that. It takes a couple seconds, but it really helps us out. So definitely appreciate you guys who do that. Other than that, if you guys are on YouTube and you'd like to participate in my live chats, there should be a link to my Twitch page below, Paytus the Ranger. Just give it a click, and then give it a follow. You'll get a notification whenever I go live. You can also opt into streaming notifications in Discord. So when anybody on the team goes live, you'll get a notification. Beyond that, I'd like to thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight, especially my subscribers. You guys rock. Always appreciate the support. Beyond that, guys, I gotta head out, and I will catch you guys up. I almost said Monday, but I will not be streaming on my normal Monday. So normally my streams are Monday at 8 p.m. and Wednesday at 1 p.m. My Monday stream will be moved to next Thursday since Sean is not streaming. I will steal his streaming slot again. But other than that, I will catch you guys Wednesday at 1 p.m. All right, later.